Good evening, it's 5:30 p.m. Welcome to the Calexico City Council, Calexico Redevelopment Successor Agency, Calexico Financing Authority regular meeting agenda. And I will start with roll call. Javier Moreno, Mayor, here. Mayor Pro Tem Camilo Garcia.
Here.
Council Member Raul Ureña.
Here.
Council Member Gloria Romo.
Here.
Council Member Rosia Arreola Fernandez.
Here.
Thank you. We have a quorum. And it's a closed session, called to order. Due to the declaration of emergency, this meeting is being held pursuant to AB 361, approved by the Governor of California on September the 16th, 2021. And some or all of the City Council members may participate in this meeting by teleconference. Pursuant to Imperial County Public Health Department guidelines, City Council meetings are now open for public attendance at 100% of capacity of the council chambers. Public participation will continue to be available in the following ways. Members of the public are encouraged to watch the meeting via live stream at http://communityspectrum.org live at 6:30 p.m. or via the Calexico City Hall Facebook page at www.facebook.com/City of Calexico CA. Members of the public will be able to make public comments in the following ways. In-person comments. Submit public comments via email by 2 p.m. on Wednesday, May 4th, 2022 at our city clerk's office. Email us dggarcia@calexicoca.gov or via fax to 760-768-2103. You may also make public comments via Zoom from a PC, Mac, iPad, iPhone, or Android device. Please click this URL to join. The number is 1-669-900-6833. The webinar ID is 837-4131-6365, and the passcode is 864000. And do we have any public comments? No public comments. Thank you. It is 5:33. We're going to adjourn to closed session.
Here, over
It
there.
is 6:32 p.m. Welcome to the Calexico City Council, Calexico Redevelopment Sector Agency, Calexico Financing Authority regular meeting. I will start with roll call. Mayor Javier Moreno here. Mayor Pro Tem Camilo Garcia.
Here.
Council Member Raul Ureña.
Here.
Council Member Gloria Romo.
Here.
Council Member Rosia Arreola Fernandez.
Here.
Thank you very much. We have a quorum. Please stand up for a pledge of allegiance. Ready? Again. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing. And we're going to do the mission statement pledge. Mr. Garcia, can you lead us on that?
Sure. Give me a minute. I know, I memorized it already, but I'm waiting.
To everybody else.
Yeah. City of Calexico mission statement. Together, we pledge to provide effective beautification services in a courteous and respectful manner to improve the quality of life for all in our unique border community. Viva Calexico.
And Mrs. Romo, could you help us with the invocation?
Okay. Thank you. Amado Señor, estamos ahora en este día jubilosos debido a que nos vamos a reunir una vez más en este cabildo de Calexico. Te pedimos, Señor, que nos ilumines, nos des paz, la inteligencia necesaria para poder ver cada uno de los asuntos que son y serán en beneficio de la comunidad. Te pedimos por nuestra población, no solamente la de Calexico, sino la del Valle Imperial, la de California y de la de todos los Estados Unidos. Muy especialmente, Señor, te pedimos la paz por Ucrania y Rusia. Te lo pedimos todo en el nombre de Jesús. Amén.
Gracias. Por favor, Sánchez. Our next item is closed session announcement.
Apologize for that, Mayor. Yes, City Council met in closed session on 3 items described on the agenda. We received direction on those items, but no reportable actions were taken. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Campbell. Next item is an approval of the agenda.
Mayor, staff does recommend tabling item number 8, budget status report and proposed budget amendment resolution. Some questions came up right before the City Council meeting that we'll need to follow up on, and we'll bring that item back at the next council meeting.
Okay, it's table item number 8.
Correct.
Thank you. Make a motion for that?
Make a motion.
Okay.
I'll second.
Second, Mr. Ureña. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No? Motion carried. 5-0. Thank you. So we now have presentations. We have one person, I believe, clerk canceling for the Caltrans presentation, correct? Okay, thank you. And we have proclamation honoring National Police Week. Okay, so we'll wait on that. We'll table that for next. And we have a presentation by Liliana Palomir.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, staff, as well as those community members here with us. My name is Liliana Palomir. I'm the Public Works Manager Administrative for the Public Works Department. The Public Works Department has 12 divisions, but tonight I will be talking to you about our Parks Division. The items that I will be discussing is our department structure and staff, site locations, upkeep, equipment, funding, budget, past and current grants, as well as a little bit about the National Recreation and Parks Association, and I will end with our needs list. Our department has, this is our organizational chart. We have, of course, our city manager, our public works director / city engineer is vacant, and then I am assisting the city manager at this moment as the Public Works Manager Administrative. Under my under me is our supervisor for operation and maintenance, who also does oversee streets, facilities, and parks. And then we only have one full-time crew leader, and then we have 4 permanent part-time laborers. The permanent part-time laborers only work 72 hours per pay period. The city has 15 parks. In front of you, you will find the list of the 15 parks that our Parks Department does maintenance. We have a total of 4 ballparks. We have a total of 27 green areas. We also do maintenance cutting grass, pruning trees of 6 city facilities, which is City Hall, Police Department, Fire Station 1, Fire Station 2, the library, Carnegie Tech Center, and Recreation. And then we also provide maintenance to 4 parking lots that are in the downtown area. So in total, our Parks Division does maintenance of 49.81 acres of parks, 4.4 acres of ball fields, 66.2 acres of green area, 4.4 acres of parking lots, which a total of 132.02 acres. Our Parks Division, of course, does the maintenance schedule of all parks, baseball fields, green area, parking lots, public facilities. They mow, they trim, and they provide weekly and daily basis as needed. They also do a lot of graffiti removal in either the restrooms, playgrounds, or even a lot of the concrete also gets graffiti. Our annual budget for fiscal year 2021-2022 is $452,882. Approximately 90% of our parks and green areas and public facilities have irrigation system of some sort, whether it's automatic or manual. Our goal is to have all the areas automated, but right now only 90% of the areas are automated. Approximately 90% of our parks and green areas have grass except retention basins that have salinity or some type of soil problem. The Public Works Department is trying to identify and address such issues and reseeding areas as needed, and as also as budget with whatever, if we have enough funding in our budget for it. Future parks and stormwater retention basin projects need to have a soil analysis component to be incorporated or to establish a healthy growing environment, because we don't want to, put soil, put grass, and then grass doesn't grow.
Thank you.
Our Parks Department currently has 3 pickup trucks, 3 utility trailers, 4 ride-along mowers, and 1 trimming truck and chipper that is obsolete. Also, the trucks that our crew uses on a daily basis, they're over 15 years old. So they are, we need a new additional vehicles. We are putting more funding in fixing our vehicles on a weekly basis. The city has a total of 12 playground sets, 20 picnic tables, 20 picnic shades, 38 picnic tables, and approximately 11 drinking fountains. For fiscal year 21-22, we were only given $9,000 for the maintenance of our equipment and vehicles, and approximately $30,000 was adopted for the purchase of equipment. And we were able to buy 1 lawnmower, 1 trailer. The funding source for our Parks Division, of course, is through the general fund. There is other funding sources, but those are when we have new development, which is the fee and park lot dedication, and also in lieu of fees. And then we also have the development impact fees. But on the development impact fees, funding goes to parks as well as to recreation. This slide shows our budget for the last 5 years. In 2017-2018, the Parks Division only was allocated $215,000. In 18-19, $272,000. In 19-20, $340,000. 2021, $355,000. And right now we have a budget of $482,000. And it's broken down by how much is for salary, benefits, materials, equipment, maintenance, and replacement. City Parks Division has had past grants that has helped us upgrade, for example, Heber Park. We did some upgrades to the bathrooms, as well as the playground area. We also had funding for our Rockwood Plaza Park. We were able to purchase 2 playground areas, playground sets, as well as fix our restrooms. And then also on Miguel Cortez Park, we were able to replace the playground area and resurface the basketball court. The current grants that we have right now, it's Heber Park. The city was awarded $8.5 million to Heber Park, which right now the plans are about 60% completed. With that grant, we'll be able to build a multi-purpose gym on Heber Park. We also have a grant of $177,000 to replace a playground area at the community center park. And right now, during construction, we have the Calexico New River Parkway improvements, where we're building 0.75 miles of a road for our residents to go either walking or use their bike. And hopefully we will complete it within the next month. And I know I see the firefighter here, I've seen them run. Here's a little matrix that I found in the National Recreation and Park Association to show the difference of what the city has right now and what the National Recreation and Park Association has found with all cities. I went ahead and did a little matrix, and you can see the populations. For example, for the city, of course, we have 38,633. According to the NRPA, there's supposed to be 1 park for every 1,941 residents. So we are supposed to have 9.90 parks, but the city right now only has 15 official parks. So there's a difference of 4.9. Also, the next area is the Acreage of Parks. The NRPA recommends a 10.6 acres of parkland for every 1,000 residents. We should have 409.5, but we only have 132. Also, for parks and recreation staff, they recommend 11.1 full-time equivalent employees per 10,000 residents. If we had that, we would have 42.84 employees. Right now, we only have a combination of 7, 3 at parks and 4 at recreation. So we are behind in the employees. Also, they also recommend for a population of our size, a budget of $3.5 million. As I showed you before, we only have a budget of $482,000. Here's just a quick needs list that we currently need in our Parks Department. As I mentioned before, we only have 4 permanent part-time employees. Our request would be to reclassify those 4 employees to full-time status, as well as get 2 additional full-time employees. That way the Parks Department will have 3 crews of 2 and then our crew leader. We also need to replace the 3 pickup trucks that our employees use Monday through Friday, sometimes Monday through Saturday. They are old and we're just buying or replacing parts, and it's just costing us more. We also would like an additional truck if we were able to get 2 additional full-time laborers. Also, because of, for example, Cordova Park, the Calexico, the New River Parkway, we would like a terrain vehicle that way they can maneuver and pick up or do maintenance quicker than just, having those trucks. Also, we would like to purchase some tractors, excavators, small tools, and a reach lift. There's some trees that are really high, and unfortunately, we don't have the proper equipment to do maintenance on those trees. And also, I would like to recommend that the city look into doing a park master plan. A lot of the grants that are out there ask, does the city or do cities have master plans? That way we can go in there, make sure that we are addressing all the needs within our community when we fill out the grant application. And if you have any questions?
Go ahead.
Lily, I'm not very clear what are the conditions of the parks. I think what are the community complaints?
The majority of the community complaints is, for example, trash bins, replacement of playground equipment that are old. Some playground, for example, all the way, the picture to your right, that doesn't have a shade. So when we get the 110-degree weather, you can't use them. So we get a request for trash bins, canopies, playgrounds. We also get a lot of that, the parks and retention basins are used on a daily basis by leagues. So they're constantly in use, and sometimes, we can't provide maintenance or close them down because there's a need or there's a demand for usage. So the grass doesn't grow, and it's a lot of dirt. So that's another request that we get, why don't we put grass so that, the parks can be green.
Okay. That's okay.
Serena?
And just a couple brief questions or requests to see how we can move forward. I would like to know at a later meeting strategies, whether it's financing strategies or grant writing strategies for weatherization and climatization of parks, to see specifically how we can replace a lot of this grass that is so labor intensive and so water intensive for artificial grass. I think that's a priority that would help us. It's a big piece in solving the financial problems of our parks, and definitely keep us posted on how much it would cost to get our public works hunter employees to full employment status. I think those two are big priorities, and yeah, those would be my requests.
You have a question?
Anybody else?
I'm a little confused here. You have a crew leader, and then you have 4 permanent part-time laborers. So you only have 5 people working in all these parks and all these areas? Is that what?
Yes, ma'am, that's all the staff we have in our Parks Division. Yes, that's all the staff we have in our Parks Division.
Seriously?
Yes.
Wow. How do they manage?
They do their best. We do have like a schedule, but unfortunately, sometimes they can't meet that schedule. And also, you have to remember when there's an event in the parks, they have to prepare the park. So sometimes they have to, they can't go through the schedule because they have to go prepare the park for whatever event is coming up. If there's a rental, staff also has to make sure, that, it's clean. After the event, staff has to go and make sure it's clean, pick up any trash that was left behind. So they do their best, but of course, we do need assistance.
So are they working weekends as well?
I only have one person working on weekends right now, and what he does is in the downtown area. And after he's done in the downtown area, then he drives around the parks to see if there's any trash.
So who's taking care of the downtown area?
That is a combination between our Parks Department and a Streets Department. But I only have one person.
Another question that I have, Heber Park, what's the holdup?
The plans are about 60%. What is holding up right now is that the engineer's cost estimate is over $9 million, and we don't have that. So now we have to go back to the table to see options of what can be reduced because we don't have the estimated, I think it was 9.5 if I'm not mistaken. You have to remember that the cost of construction right now is going way high. So we have to go, we're back in the table to figure out what items we can either remove or do alternatives in case any additional funding comes in.
So, in all this time, you've been working on it, or we were sitting on it? I mean, it's been 2
No.
years since the grant was approved.
No, well, we got the grant, and then we went through the RFP process to get an architect. We meet on like every other month, we meet with the architect. So it's moving forward, it's just that now it's come to the point where we need to know if we're gonna be able to get additional funding, or, like I said, reduce some of the items.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead.
Anything?
Thank you. Lily, going back to our discussion from Heber Park, I recall when we had the presentation and we spoke to the engineers, actually, what we were presented, it was something that was gonna be done with the money that we had. And I was very clear that we were gonna do that. We were going to do something with what we had. And then there was room for growth or some improvements. Because we took a lesson, or we use it as a lesson from what we got over at Cordova Park, where the plan was to do it in phases. Whenever we came across more money, whenever we had a chance to apply for more money or grants. And I think that was just an approach that, at least with me, didn't sit well. It doesn't sit well still, and it won't. So what I want is for you and the city manager to go back and look at those notes, look at those minutes, when it was brought to the council, this council, where the money that we had, that was going to be used to do the Heber Park project, and not coming back with an additional amount that now it seems that, with the community saying that we just start things or start talking about things that they never get completed. We even get off the ground. So I understand we have a lot of needs, we have a lot of challenges, staffing, resources, but if we have funding and we are told, we are not just told, but assured that those projects will be done with the money that we have. So I don't understand why we're coming back a few months later and now all of a sudden we need more money. Let's do with what we have. Let's plan. Let's work on this master plan, because it's incomprehensible to look at these things. And I think what Ms. Romo was asking also, it was asking a report on the conditions of the parks that we know how they stand. We don't have to get a report from you to know the conditions of our parks. So we need to work on a master plan. We need to work on the strategy to put to work and to make it work with what we have right now. Going back to Cordova Park, one of the things that I have been asking from day one when I came here is to start putting grass, to put grass at the baseball fields, which is now, the grass is there. I've gone there a few times. I think it needs to be reseeded because there were some areas that, again, the grass really grow in patches. It looks nice in some areas. But what I was hoping also, and it was said also in this council, that I was hoping that by this time around, by this time of the year, we were going to have some sort of, opening, some sort of access to our community. Same thing goes for the walking, the path over at the New River walkway park. That looks great. And in going there, I see that the trash cans that were put, and people already put in trash, but there's not a trash bag. And I think I did see also that the lights are going up, and there's solar, but some of the
the batteries are disappearing. So this is a call to the community also. I mean, and I'm not blaming you in any of this or whatever is happening, but this is a call to the community. I mean, we're coming across some monies. We're trying to make this town a little bit better, but we're not helping ourselves. When those things are disappearing, and I would like a report as to what's going to happen with that. Are we going to get a replacement of those batteries that have been stolen? I mean, are we going to pay for that? So it's a shame that we haven't even opened that area, and it's already in need of repairs or replacement of things. So I know it's not your fault, but this is a call for the community also. I mean, see something, say something. Let's be responsible. Let's take pride on each other. Let's work on and I'm not getting off track, but let's work on maybe doing our process a little more friendlier. You know, if there's a group, a nonprofit group or someone that wants to help with the maintenance of parks or cleanups, let's work on the TUPs, that it's a process that is not cumbersome, that we're talking to each other, that we're helping each other out. And I think, you know, it has been seen that people want to help. But, you know, we are the ones that put the obstacles. We are the ones that are harming ourselves. I mean, I did go by the walkway, you know, last night, and I did see some of those lights dark. So I don't know if the developer or what's going to happen there, Lily, also.
No,
If they're going to be replaced.
Yes.
And even if they're replaced, you know, it's a shame that happened.
No, the contractor, well, we're going to be replacing them, but we're right now looking at options of we're going to have to weld them, weld the box because the locks didn't work out.
Okay. All right. Well, at least we have a solution to that, but we shouldn't be even be talking about that. I think it's petty. It's upsetting. You know, and I encourage the community to please, you know, let's take pride on what we have and what we're getting. We all know that it's hard coming across money, but when we get it and we invest it, it's not spending it, but investing in our community, let's make sure that we take care of that. So please go back to the Heber Park, you know, project as it was presented to us, and go back to the notes and talk to the engineer or go back and listen to the minutes or pull the minutes and see what was discussed. Because I want to make sure that I know that in the past has been asked for investigations, and I'm not asking for an investigation. I'm just asking to go back and make sure that if we had binding agreements, that we hold people accountable. Yeah. Because other people are holding ourselves accountable. And we have some of those items on this agenda, in every agenda. So I want to make sure that you know, that's my ask as a future item, you know. So if we can do that, please. Thank you.
Mr. Garcia, or Mayor Pro Tem Garcia, I absolutely share all of your frustrations, and I would just suggest and ask. I think a lot of the problems that you're mentioning with the theft of batteries and a lot of the vandalism, parks are definitely a reflection of the problems in our community as well. Drug addiction, opioid use, arson, homelessness itself. So I would really like the director to help us identify the structural causes of a lot of these things so that we can also attack them if there's a lot of things that fall outside of her department. Obviously, there's going to be some structural things that fall within her department, such as grass maintenance and things of that nature, and I think that would be the best way forward. But you're right, these problems are structural, and we need to get to the root of it.
And I agree, you know, Councilman Ureña, regardless of the problems that we all know. But for now, this is what we have, this is what we can deal with. Mm-hmm. And yes, we need to reach out to the partners, and it's really hard to put some of those issues on the department managers or directors. But at least for now, what I want to see is a solution to that, a strategy, a plan, and then we can deal with those other things. We can invite the agencies to deal with those issues. But as of right now, I want to make sure that we find a solution and that those solutions are put in place as soon as, 2 days ago. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Garcia. This is I know, Mr. Favila, you're short-term here, and I appreciate everything you've done, but in order to keep the community, obviously we're in frustration because of what's going on, and we can talk here all day about this, but we're short on time. So, as a respect for the people here tonight, what I would to keep the community in light, not in the dark, in light, I would recommend to give us a master plan of how, and then the documentation to back that up, and also a timeline. That's real simple, and I don't know if it's going to happen with him by the next city council meeting. Would give us a better idea for the community to understand what's happening, especially a timeline and the documentation, because it seems like there's always no documentation. I mean, I appreciate your efforts, it's good presentation, but it's information. There's no guidance, there's no direction, there's nothing, anyways, but. So
just to make sure that I'm getting your ask, you want the master plan for just the parks, or are you asking
In
for
this
a master
particular
plan?
case.
Okay, just for the parks, right? Okay, thank you.
And timelines, right? We need to have a project, needs to have a timeline, as we move forward.
And Lily, you need to include in the budget the $750,000 from ARPA. In your budget. Please, and I recommend too that you participate in the Parks Congress, Lily.
Yes, you provided the link. I have already registered. So hopefully, I believe it's going to be in September. So I'll go ahead and of course, request
Good
for
news.
travel.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. I don't have anything else. Thank you. So next item, we'll go to the proclamation honoring National Police Week 2022, May 11th to the 17th. Whereas the Congress and President of the United States have designated May 15 as Peace Officer Memorial Day, and the week in which May 15 falls as National Police Week, and
Whereas the members of the Calexico Police Department play an essential role in safeguarding the rights and freedoms of the citizens of the city of Calexico, and
whereas it is important that all citizens know and understand the duties, responsibilities, hazards, and sacrifices of their law enforcement agency, and that members of our law enforcement agency recognize their duty to serve the people by safeguarding life and property, by protecting them against violence and disorder, and by protecting the innocent against deception and the weak against oppression.
And whereas the men and women of the Calexico Police Department unceasingly provide a vital public service.
Now therefore be it resolved, the City Council of the City of Calexico call upon all citizens of Calexico, upon all patriots, civic, and educational organizations to observe the week of May 11 through May 17, 2022 as National Police Week, with appropriate ceremonies and observance in which all of our people may join in commendatory law enforcement officers, past and present, who by their faithful and loyal devotion to their communities, to their responsibilities, have rendered a dedicated service to their communities, and in so doing have established themselves as enable and enduring reputation for preserving the rights and security of all citizens.
City Council further calls upon all citizens of Calexico to observe May 15 as Peace Officers Memorial Day in honor of those law enforcement officers who, through their courage deeds, have made the ultimate sacrifice in service to their community or have become disabled in the performance of duty. And let us recognize and pay respect to the survivors of our fallen heroes. In witness whereof, I, Javier Moreno, Mayor of Calexico, herewith affix my signature and official seal of the City of Calexico on this 4th day of May, 2002. Sign. Public safety officers. I myself was a public safety officer for 32 years and retired honorably, and I know what duty calls, so we appreciate that.
Thank you.
And service. That's all the fire.
Thank you very much.
We have now the bi-weekly COVID-19 update presentation.
Good afternoon, actually good evening, Honorable City Council and the Mayor, and to all the community members that are present tonight, and for the staff that is here for our council meeting. Tonight's presentation for COVID actually is just the update on it. We'll start off like we normally do with our numbers. At the current moment, we have a total of active of 17 people within the city of Calexico. As long as we remain in these double digits, you know, that's always good to see, right? Because there was a period where we were in the 4-number digits, and now it's really good to see us in these double digits. So since the pandemic started, we've had a total of 13,583 people. Out of those recovered are 13,283, with the unfortunate 283 deaths from this. Some of the other things that are happening with COVID is obviously we're continuing the testing process, the vaccination process, and today we have at the one stop down here on 3rd and Heber, we have the one stop, so you can go over there, get your testing. On Friday, May 6th, we'll have they're calling this the small van, which is actually the same testing van. That's going to be from 7 o'clock to 6:30 p.m. on Friday, and that's going to be at the Hector Mario Esquer building, which is located on the west side of town. Another thing that has been worked on, I had mentioned in our last meeting that together with collaboration with the state and the county and the city of Calexico, we're going to hold a COVID-19 vaccine event. And the idea for this, one of the goals is to get all of our students ages 5 and over. That's the goal. And if they have extended family with them that needs it, that's an opportunity for them to get it as well. The days for this is starting May 10th. This is at the Women's Improvement Club, and it's going to run from 10 to 6 for the first dose. At the end of the month, May 31st, we're going to have the same event, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Like I said, with collaboration with the Women's Improvement, the state, they're going to have small vendors there. They'll have a food truck. So the goal is to make sure that we get these youth that have not had the opportunity to get the opportunity to get vaccinated. And with that said, I think that's all I have for you guys.
Thank you, Chief. Next items are announcements. These proceedings may be viewed on the City of Calexico website at www.calexico.ca.gov the Friday following the City Council meeting. Community office hours with Mayor Javier Moreno will be held by appointment. Please contact the City Clerk's office at 760-768-2102 to schedule an appointment. Next, we have public comments and public appearances. Not to exceed 3 minutes. This is the time for the public to address the City Council on any item not appearing on the agenda that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council. However, if the item you wish to comment on is on the consent agenda, please comment now. The mayor will recognize you, and when you come to the microphone, please state your name and place of residence for the record. While members of the public are encouraged to participate, it is unlawful to disturb or delay the council meeting with personal or slanderous remarks. The City Council is prohibited by state law from taking action or discussing items not included on the printed agenda. If the item you wish to comment on is on the public portion of the agenda, we will take your comment when we get to the item of the agenda. Please direct your questions and comments to the City Council. And we have 2 public comments so far. Do we have any online? No? Okay, the first one is Mr. Ricardo Servin.
Hello, my name is Ricardo Silvin. I live at 882 in Calexico. I live more than 67 years old by dual school. The park I live is beside my house. It's called Cromwell Park. I've been calling the PD and the Parks Department. Last week, I called because there were some 3 people trying to break up on the restaurant of the Common Park. They broke the lights. It's very dark there right now. Later, this week, on a weekday, a homeless that lived with a library. He lives there, he sits there, and he does his restroom in the building. Now, you go to the restroom right now, it's marked with shit on the wall. They went today to clean up the shit they put on the wall. They very urgent to put that thing in the park. And another thing, those parks do have trash cans. A lot of people go from the road riders go to make carne asada. The big take their trash in bags, but they live on the park. But they do all the trash is all thrown on the park. We do have trash cans in that park. It's very urgent. If you could help the community there, I'm gonna appreciate you guys doing your kind of job to keep the park clean. That's all I needed to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Servín. Our next speaker is Zompra Shaney.
You can choose
Anywhere. Yes.
Good afternoon, and thank you so much for the opportunity that you guys gave me to be here. This is, for me, it's something that I want to, it's a constructive criticism. For me, myself, I've been blessed by this town. I've been here for 44 years. I've been blessed that I have people that I know, but I had a really bad experience last night. And Mr. Camilo said 2 things that I want to address today. He says, I want the process to be friendly. I want to make this community, my community, better. What happens to me last night It's something that I do not want to happen to anybody else because we live in a town that 99% of the people are Hispanic people and they're not able to fend for themselves. There happens, oh, ya pasó, ni modo, no, ¿qué vamos a hacer? No, ¿qué vamos a hacer? Nada. We're going to have to do the process better. When we called the dispatcher, the police, it took me 30 minutes for the police to be there. I understand that we're short-staffed, but the dispatcher could have said, this is how it goes. I have this letter that educated the dispatcher to say, this is the process. You might not have a policeman there. I understand how you're going through. My window was broken. My purse was taken by low life. I understand that part. We're going to have that. But there's no process to easy anybody. The policeman finally came. The officer came and they were already calling him up or someplace that your case is not as important as somebody else. I don't know that. All I know that my case was important, but apparently not. Maybe what somebody else was more important. But for me, my case was important. So he said, just call the office. Just call the police station. Okay, I called the police station, push 1, 2, 3, 5. You think the people, when you're like, you think you're gonna remember to call 1, 2, 3, 5, you just want to call a person that's there. If you go to a restaurant and the food is lousy, but there's this lady that always makes your day, are you gonna go back to that place? Of course you are, because we're human beings, we like to be treated with respect. That's all. Even if there's shortness of policemen, even if officers are short, let us know what to expect. Let us know, treat us as a first citizens, what we are. We live in this town and we want this community to be better. We want to be treated right. Even if you're not going to have a policeman there, let us know that the process is going to be an hour, 30 minutes, but nothing. Well, okay, finally, I work for ECRMC and thank God that I parked right underneath the camera. So the camera was like right to my car. So I get a call this morning because I did not get a call from anybody else. They said, Sombra, we sent the video to Officer Serrano and this and that. That made me feel like somebody was doing something about it, you know? But my company, my hospital had to call whatever. They follow up, I applaud them for doing that. Okay. All I want is this process to be revisit. If there's nothing for you to do, let us know what the process is. Don't leave us hanging for a whole night. What's gonna happen? This is gonna happen? I accept that if it's gonna happen, but please educate that dispatcher. Educate those people that say, you know what, we had this situation and all I want is somebody to go revisit, educate whoever's gonna be answering the phone and say, you know, we're so short, this and that. But don't just ignore that you citizen and say, well, they're not gonna go away. No, if it was your problem, it won't go away. I wanted to applaud Officer Serrano because this is a perfect, you know, God puts people on the right place. He receives an honor, a certificate, or whatever. He is the one that was sent the video to. Today, about 3 o'clock, the security guard, no, not the policeman, the security guard from my work, they said, Sombra, you can be at ease. We caught the guy, okay? I want this to be coming from the police department, not from a security guard. You know what I mean? Get this process done properly. Don't wait. They say, oh, when do I get the report? 4 to 7 days, whatever. No. This is unacceptable. You do something more than 4 to 7 days. I want something to be done within the 24 hours. Even if you're not going to recuperate my purse or whatever, and thank God we will recuperate the purse now with nothing in it. But the officer is going to be talking to me in a little bit to see what we're going to do about it. But this is a story that ended up good. That ended up good for me because I think that justice was done and not bad for the guy. But I want this to be revisited, and I want people that are not able to come and talk. I want those people to explain the situation. Don't leave them hanging. Don't leave them like you guys, the policeman doesn't care. I want somebody to do something about it. Those people are our community, and we should love our community. We live in this community. I love my community. I'm a Mexican, and my husband is an American, and I'll tell you, we are 99.9% of Mexicans, so we need to take care of our people. You know what I mean? So I ask you guys, and thank you so much for listening to me. I have this, if anything that we can do to help out with this, I'm an advocate. I'll be glad to help out with whatever it is. You know, I know I can't bring any officers, but have revisit this policy of how to treat people with respect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sombra.
Our next item is City Manager's report.
Besides a busy week, I have nothing for the city manager's report right now.
Thank you. Our next item is City Council comments and reports of meetings attended. Who wants to go first? Go ahead.
You want me to start?
Go ahead. Yes. Go ahead.
Me?
Yes.
Okay, I first met with the unmet transportation needs meeting, which is quite interesting because people from the county, throughout the county, send in their unmet needs to the transportation department and voice their concerns. One concern was in Calexico that we need a stop sign, a bus stop in front of Denny's, because the bus stop that's there doesn't have a cover. So that was one complaint. Now, they also would like for more routes to IVC, straight routes, because, you know, now with the students going back and forth, they feel that we should have more routes available for them. And I guess that was kind of Calexico being a border city does demand a lot of trips throughout the valley. So, like I said, the unmet needs was, it's good to see what our city needs. Also, I attended the Imperial County Transportation Commission meeting, and what was discussed, I noticed that we were gonna have Mr. Daniel Hernandez from the California Department of Transportation, Caltrans, do a presentation, but I guess he didn't show up, or I don't know what happened to him.
Yeah, he called to reschedule, and he's going to present for us on the next council
Okay,
meeting.
well, in the meeting 98, the project in 98 was brought up.
Yes.
And because I had concerns that nothing is being done, as you have noticed, no work has been done for some time now. It's dormant now. So the reason for that, the answer that was given to us is that the construction company had some issues, some delays, and I would say that they're looking for someone else to start working on it. We voiced our concerns about the project not being completed, how it's affecting the commercial areas, and of course, you know, the citizens here of Calexico going through 98. Also, I will say that our Supervisor Blancarte also spoke out for us, and Mr. From the IED, Mr. Gonzalez also.
I'll make sure that Caltrans presents something on that as well, that they include that in the presentation.
Okay. Also, we had a visit from the Secretary of State, Dr. Weber. Her main focus was to educate our students on the importance of voting. She did go to local high schools, and she ended up coming to our city, our Calexico Women's Improvement Club, and had a roundtable with us, which was very exciting. We were able to voice our concerns about the voting process. And again, you know, it was exciting to have her here with us. Other than that, I also attended the, the housing, I'm sorry. we have the academy, the housing, you want to,
HPLA.
HBLA? Okay. And I guess, and I did attend the county, state of the county with Mr. Escobar, that was our supervisor. And I did attend the Supervisor Division 1 debate, and I encourage the citizens of Calexico to attend these debates. That way you'll know who's running for what office, and you could hear what they have to offer to our community. I think it's very important that we try to attend these meet and greet events. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Garcia?
Yeah, well, ditto to some of those events, and I'm glad to see that a lot of the council members coincided in some of these events. But as far as, myself, I did attend on April 21st the Lithium Valley stakeholders meeting. I know that this has been, talked about so much, lately, or actually it's been also, if you listen to some of the candidates, or I would say all the candidates running, they're mentioning this as the next best thing, right? So, but this meeting in particular dealt with bringing local government people, education institutions, San Diego State, IBC. In fact, it was hosted at IBC. And then also just businesses and residents to find out a little bit more about this project, because this is something, again, that it's in the news, people are talking about, and that it's something that it can be, as it has been called many times, kind of like a game changer, for us, whether it's for employment generation, for the amount of investment and monies. But one thing that I do want to emphasize is that we need to get engaged. We need to make sure that we're there, not just at the table, but participating in the discussions and in the planning. So I will continue to be part of this, and I will encourage the rest of my colleagues to do so also. Just going back to the visit from our from the Secretary of State, Dr. Shirley Weber, I think it's really key that not just now that we're going through elections, but to be engaged in the civic process, to be engaged in making sure that we do our due diligence when it comes to selecting our representatives, our elected representatives, because that's our duty, and that's who we elect to represent and make decisions on our behalf. So we shouldn't take that lightly. I'm not endorsing, I'm not advocating for anyone in particular, but I'm just asking for you to be informed, and as Councilwoman Fernandez said, attend these conversations, these debates, so you can find out and maybe ask your questions, concerns that you have. That's where you can find out. Then also the state of the county. It was great to see a recount of some of the things that the county has accomplished in this past year. It was very festive. It was well attended, and I was happy to see the 5 of us there representing this council. Then also on the 26th, I attended a art exhibit entitled Creative Young Minds. It was about, there were about 102 artists, young artists, about 181 pieces. So the community came together. It was well attended, a lot of people excited. And then also, even though I didn't attend, but I know that, Ms. Legaspi is in the audience, and I had a conversation, last night, at Walmart. I'm not doing a pitch for Walmart here, but I know that they do also a lot of activities. So again, thank you for that. And I know that they had a great celebration for Dia del Niño too. So next time I'll be there, promise. So then also there was a Community Economic Resilience Fund forum yesterday. Pretty much what this is an opportunity to provide feedback to the southern region border region in the development of a comprehensive response to a 5 million planning grant opportunity. I know this is just a plan, but this could be something bigger that will assist our businesses in the efforts of the recovery after the pandemic, after COVID. So again, this is something that we need to be involved. We need to make sure that we're at the table, that we're voicing our concerns and our needs on behalf of our city of Calexico. And again, thank you. Again, I wasn't also in attendance at the event that took place on Saturday, but I want to commend all the staff that took part of that and that helped to make that event happen. I know that maybe sometimes we don't contribute financially to these events, a dollar amount, but the fact that the staff goes, sets up, is there, closes the streets, does the cleanup, the maintenance of the park or the facility, I think that translates to money in the thousands. So that's our contribution. I just want to make sure that, again, we don't say that we don't contribute as a city. We do, and that's our contribution. So thank you. I commend all of those individuals that participated, and that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Garcia. Over here.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll try to keep it brief, but I do have a couple of updates. First of all, happy Asian and Pacific Islander Heritage Month of May. We celebrate the rich history of AAPI people, specifically a lot of people from the East Asian countries that settled here, fleeing exclusion and genocide on both sides of the border. We recognize our sister city, Mexicali, for being the Latin American city with the most Asian population in all of Latin America, not just Mexico. We recognize our Filipino brothers and sisters who in this valley lit a fire, calling all farm workers to action in historic strikes across California and the western United States. And we absolutely lament the misguided violence and racism of many towards Asians during the COVID pandemic towards our brothers and sisters. Next month is June. June is LGBT Pride Month. It's an opportunity to celebrate the historic achievements of LGBT community against discrimination over the years. I will inform the council of 3 Pride-related developments that have happened in the last couple of weeks, so we can start preparing for that month. Today, I was honored to have a meeting with our celebrated and talented Library and Recreation Directors, Ms. Legaspi and Ms. Gerardo, who are here in attendance. Representatives from the Calexico Unified Library, San Diego State University, the Ivy LGBT Center, Ivy Equity and Justice, Calexico Needs Change, joined us to develop a plan for inclusive programming for the youth and the community during the month of June. We are in the planning phase, and I'll keep this council informed on what is happening in library and recreation for the month of June. I was also informed by Comité Orgullo Mexicali, which is the official pride organizing organization for the city of Mexicali, that they will be sending a letter in representation requesting the official presence of all governments across Imperial County to stand in solidarity as they have their pride celebration right across the border. I think it is important that we send representation to support our sister cities' efforts to strengthen binational ties and support the LGBT community. As the only LGBT member of this council, I would respectfully ask to be included in the delegation that is sent to Mexicali this year. I hope we can also make history being the first Valley city to host a flag racing in the Valley. I'm making this request official, like I did last year, to the council and to be agendized if so necessary. A couple updates on grants. The Family Homeless Challenge Grant. I had the honor of supporting Director Tylinda's efforts from the Planning Department in applying for the Family Homeless Challenge Grant. It is a multi-million-dollar grant that we successfully submitted an application for this past Saturday at 5 p.m. We found the support of the County of Imperial, San Diego State University, IVC, Calexico Unified School District, Ivy Food Bank, Ivy Equity, and Assemblymember Garcia in our application. There's some pending support letters from our partners at Catholic Charities, Neighborhood House, Brownback Coalition, Women Haven, IVBLM, Plexico Exchange, and Familias del Valle, among others. This grant will be a historic effort to make Calexico a national model on how to rehabilitate and prevent homelessness across arid regions, border regions, and other poverty-stricken and diverse communities. The vision is to have a comprehensive initial needs assessment of the diverse communities informed by SDSU researchers, shout out to Dr. Ko, to inform the construction of diverse housing interventions and implement some serious longitudinal studies to inform the development of intervention strategies at a county level. We hope that this grant is approved June 29th. We will know if we will get those millions of dollars to help out with homelessness here in the city of Calexico and influence how we tackle homelessness countywide. Second grant on the radar is the library grant. There was an exciting development on that $10 million grant for the library. They asked for supplemental information that is due on Friday. That means that the grant is moving forward, and we just hope that it reaches the finish line so we can remodel the Camarena Library. I would like to make at this point a formal request to the mayor to please consider establishing an ad hoc citizens grant writing committee. I stand ready to organize and serve on this committee to support grant writing efforts across all departments. I welcome any council member who would like to join me in that effort. We invite the collaboration of all directors in identifying relevant grants to set as objectives. Lastly, the planning, building, and engineering departments plan to spearhead an active transportation grant application that is due June 15th. We hope to have the committee set up and running by them to assist those important efforts. And with that, I would just like to thank the mayor of the city of Calexico, this Calexico City Council, for the great work that we've been doing in bettering our city. Muchas gracias.
Thank you, Mr. Uraya. Mr. Ramos?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Raul. Thank you, Lisa. Very, very, very good job. Very good news, too. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, first of all, I want to share with you that I attended the Community Health and Safety Park on Saturday, April 30. The city of Calexico participated in the, you too, in this event, Adrian Cordova Park, in honor and memory of the legendary local boxing trainer Ignacio Pops Sanchez. Thank you very much, Mr. Favila, for your support. I also want to share with you that the Mexicali DIF needs our support. The director of the DIF, Dr. Elba Cornejo, has shared with me about the jazz event that they will have this May 6th with the Kalimba. The funds from this event will help very vulnerable people. Es más que nada migrantes, several, maybe 3,000 people for migrantes. Finally, I would like to share with you that it was an honor for me to attend the report of Supervisor Jesus Escobar, President of the County of Imperial. And finally, otra vez, se me olvidó. Quiero dar muchas, muchas bendiciones, muchas felicidades, todo mi corazón, a todas las madres.
Yeah. Yes.
Porque el día 8 se celebra el Día de las Madres. Es algo muy importante. Aquí pues sabemos 2 madres, aquí hay muchas mamás, y todos aquellos papás y personas que están aquí guapas tienen sus madres y tienen sus esposas. El día 8 se celebra aquí en Calexico y no olvidemos eso. No olvidemos, no importa cómo estemos, pero yo creo que la madre yo creo que es algo muy importante. El padre también, no se pongan tristes. Pero yo creo que la madre es algo muy importante. El día 10 se celebra en México, pero aquí con nosotros el día 8. Y quiero mandarles todo mi corazón, mis bendiciones a tantas madres que tenemos en Calexico. Aquí la población en Calexico hay gente, más gente mayor y muchas mamitas que por aquí se encuentran y muchos hijos que se fueron a otros estados y que pues seguramente de donde estén, espero recuerden este día. Que Dios bendiga a todas las madres. Gracias. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Romo. Okay, to avoid a bunch of redundancy from my part, because I've also attended most of all the events that we attended up here, just for the sake of our argument, time. Just going to speak of one item that was very close to me. Actually, two items. Also, one is doing reading out the opening remark for the Secretary of State, Dr. Cheryl Weber, who came down to visit us, and this past week. That was an honor to be there for me, representing the city in that capacity. And the other one was most important for me also was attending the Arbor Day on Saturday. Mr. Javier Gonzalez was talking about it here for many weeks. And I'd also like to make a public comment because my colleague here, Ms. Roya Romo, was giving credit to her because she really worked hard before and during and up to that day. And she actually was there before me. Was very early, and she left later than me. So I really like to thank you for putting all your effort, Ms. Strom, for that. Thank you very much. It's an honor to work with you. Yes. I did give the proclamation. We did read the proclamation from Bob Sanchez. We all know him in the community here, and we also made it there for the family on that day. I knew that Mr. Sanchez also from other concepts when he was a boxing. We had the boxing club and helped the kids in our community, so it was an honor for me to be there and give the proclamation to the family. Friday, May the 24th, we celebrate it's the American Legion National Poppy Day. And when a red poppy is worn to honor the fallen and to show support for all veterans. Don't forget that day. That's all I have.
Mayor?
Yes.
I completely forgot to thank our city because we had the Fit and Healthy nonprofit organization that is run by our pediatrician, Dr. Tristan. We had a 5K color run. And I do want to thank everybody that participated, that helped us out, our temporary city manager, Diego, thank you so much for all your support, our planning, Public Works, thank you for setting up the park for us. Our fire department was there, and also traffic control. They did an awesome job in closing off the streets. It was a very good event. Unfortunately, we had two events the same day, but hopefully next time we're going to be able to coordinate them, and because they're lots of fun. It's a lot of fun having these events for our youth. Okay, that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on. Now, next item is the consent agenda. All matters listed on the consent calendar are to be considered routine by the City Council, Calexico Community Development Agency successor agency, or Calexico Financing Authority, and will be enacted by one motion in the form listed. Any item may be removed from the consent calendar and considered separately by the City Council.
Motion to approve?
Motion. Second, Ms. Romo. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those abstain? No one? Motion carried. Thank you. And we're up to the discussion and potential action items. Number 7, receive and file 2020-21 audited financial statements.
Thank you, Mayor. We have a representative from the PUN group who will be giving us a status.
Okay.
Do we have to turn the lights off a little more, or is it just warming up? The lights? Did that work for you right there?
Sure that this works. Yeah. All right. So my name is Coley Delaney. I'm a partner with the Poon Group, and I'm here today to give you the results of the fiscal 2021 financial statement audit. So I'm going to go over just some required communications from our auditing standards, some audit responsibilities for management and the auditors ourselves, a brief overview of the financial statements. We're going to look at some quick financial indicators and key pension and Opeb information, and then I'll go over the audit results. So these are some required communications by our auditing standards. We need to inform you that as a firm and all members that worked on the audit, we complied with all relevant requirements regarding independence. The city disclosed all significant accounting policies in Note 1 to their financial statements. And this year, the city implemented one GASB, new Governmental Accounting Standards Board statement entitled Fiduciary Activities that did have an effect on the city's financial reporting. There are some significant estimates used in the creation of these financial statements, and that includes fair value on investments, depreciation and depreciable lives on capital assets, the actuarially calculated net other post-employment benefit liability, and also the actuarially determined net pension liability. Some of the sensitive disclosures in the financial statement include Note 1, which is a summary of significant accounting policies. Note 9 describes the city's pension plans, miscellaneous and safety. Note 10 describes the Opeb plan. Note 12 is commitments and contingencies. And Note 17 lists out the prior period adjustments that were made, and those for this year, those were to implement the GASB statement that I mentioned in the fiduciary activity. So there was a prior period adjustment to bring the financial statements into line with current guidance. And Note 18, subsequent events, describes funding received after June 30 for the American Rescue Plan Act. There were no uncorrected misstatements reported. There were no other consultations with other accountants or other auditors, sort of what we would consider second opinions on this audit. We encountered no significant difficulties in dealing with management, and we did not have any disagreements with management in terms of accounting treatments or audit procedures performed. As far as audit responsibilities, I'll start with management. Management is responsible for these financial statements, and they're responsible for presenting those financial statements in accordance with U.S. GAAP. They're responsible for adopting sound accounting policies, establishing and maintaining internal controls over compliance and financial reporting, and they're responsible for providing the auditors with evidence supporting the amounts and disclosures in the financial statements, as well as preventing and detecting fraud. For the auditor's responsibilities, our responsibilities, we are responsible for forming and expressing an opinion about whether the financial statements are materially fairly stated in accordance with U.S. GAAP. We have to plan the audit to obtain reasonable but not absolute assurance about whether the financial statements are free of material misstatements. And we do consider internal control over financial reporting. However, those considerations are solely for the purpose of determining our audit procedures, and we do not provide any assurance concerning internal controls. So I'll just go through a brief overview of the financial statements. And what I'll start with here is the government-wide condensed statement of net position, so essentially the balance sheet, and this is for both the governmental activities and the business type activities. And so we have a year-to-year comparison here. How we read this: assets plus deferred outflows of resources minus liabilities and deferred inflows of resources equal the city's net position, which is the residual equity that the city has in both governmental and business type activities. As you can see, the assets did increase by $35 million. Deferred outflows were up as well. Liabilities also increased $45 million. There was new debt issued in the amount of $38 million this year in the water and wastewater fund. Deferred inflows of resources went down. Those are both the deferred outflows and deferred inflows of resources are mostly actuarially determined and relate to pension and Opeb. And then the net position for the city as a whole did increase by $1 million. And as you can see, the breakout, the total net position for the city is $102 million. 93 million of that is what we consider net investment in capital assets, so which is amounts that capital assets on the books subtracted by capital-related debt. Restricted net position is restricted by third parties or by enabling legislation, so the city just can't use that for, just for general expenses. And then the unrestricted deficit, there's an unrestricted deficit of $26 million, which was created years ago through the implementation of the pension and Opeb standards. So similarly, this is a condensed, this is the statement of activities. So this includes, again, the governmental activities and the business type activities. So the expenses in 2021 for the city, for all programs, $48.8 million against program revenues, which include charges for services and operating and capital grants, were $33 million. So that was a net cost of services for the city as a whole of $15 million. And then that's recouped essentially through general revenues, which are taxes, so your property tax, sales tax, transient occupancy tax, et cetera, investment earnings, and miscellaneous as well. Included, you will see a large jump in the operating grants and contributions. That jump, that increase is mainly related to the coronavirus relief funds that were used in the housing department. And then capital grants and contributions is mostly in the public works department. So again, change in net position, a positive $1 million this year. Now looking at the general fund, this is a condensed balance sheet. So the general fund's assets did go up by $2.2 million. Liabilities also went up, leaving the general fund at June 30, 2021 with total fund balance of about $2 million. Now, I will point out, though, that in the general fund, if you look at the financial statements, there is a zero cash balance, which means that the general fund actually has a liability in that fund of $1.2 million, which is considered due to other funds. So at June 30, 2021, the general fund did have a negative cash position, did have to borrow money from other funds as of, for the one day essentially reporting. Now that negative cash is there are $3.4 million of receivables in the general fund, and so there was a timing issue on cash. So instead of showing negative cash, it borrowed for reporting purposes from other funds. And this is the general fund condensed income statement, and so you can see that in the year-over-year change, revenues and expenditures kind of moved together. So the net revenues over expenditures did not change much from the prior year. The general fund did also transfer out $1.5 million. 500,000 of that was for capital projects, and another $1 million of that was for debt service. So a net change in fund balance for the general fund, positive $993,000. So just go over some financial indicators and key pension and Opeb information. What this slide here shows a ratio, which we call the net cost of services to tax revenues. Now you want, so last year's was 101 point, or almost 102%. This year it's 96.8. You want this ratio to be under 100. And so what that means is that the net cost of services is less than the tax revenues that the city is receiving. So the net cost of services is calculated by, basically it's all of the expenditures across programs, so general government, public safety, public works, et cetera. And then how those expenditures are recovered either through charges for services or grants. That leaves you with your net cost of services. And then you would hope that the tax revenues that the city receives are more than that net cost of services. So in this case, the ratio was not good last year. The tax revenues did not cover the net cost of services. This year they did, and they covered the cost of services by $493,000. This slide shows the unassigned fund balance in the general fund compared to the general fund's annual expenditures. So the unassigned fund balance, you can see from last year to this year has more than doubled, which is good. Expenditures have stayed relatively static, so the ratio there has gone from 5% to 11%. Now what that means is that the city essentially has about 1.5 months of general fund expenditures in unassigned fund balance, which is pretty low. Usually, like the state controller's office likes to recommend, at least 6 months. And there's no, the city does not have any committed or assigned fund balance in the general fund for economic contingencies or reserves. But it is moving in a positive direction. This slide here, basically, so the city's net pension, that gray bar in the middle says that the city's net pension liability at June 30 in this report is $30 million, and that's split between miscellaneous and safety. So 13.9 million in miscellaneous and 16.3 in safety. And so those are again, the net pension liability is calculated by actuaries, and they use a discount rate of 7.15%. What this slide shows is the sensitivity of the change in the liability to a change in the discount rate. So if that discount rate were to drop as of June 30, 2021, if that were to drop to 6.15%, then the city's liability, pension liability would actually be $45 million. And if it were to go the other way, it would be $17.7 million. And we point this out because CalPERS is adjusting the rates. CalPERS has adjusted their rate to 6.8% as of, I think it was July 1st, 2021. And so we will see through doing, no additional, no other changes to the city's operations or anything like that, that the pension liability will jump due to that change in the discount rate, and that is going to affect the city's future actuarially determined contributions in a few years down the road. So as far as funding percentages, last year safety was 73%. It's 72% this year, and the miscellaneous plans funding percentage did drop a little, but still pretty consistent with last year. This is a similar schedule for the city's Opeb liability. The city's Opeb liability right now is $39.4 million. And this is measured at 2.19%, which is the 20-year municipal bond percentage.
Just a quick question on the actuarial analysis on the previous slide, if we could go back. So, just so I understand the chain reaction here. So, interest rate at the Federal Reserve is going up, and it makes our retirement liabilities more expensive because of the effect of stocks, or
no. So this discount rate is a long-term discount rate that's voted on by the CalPERS board, and it's a rate that they're assuming that they can achieve over a long time frame, so about 30 years or so. So this is something that is voted on by that board, and they do take into consideration investment earnings and things like that. And so one thing that triggered the CalPERS board to lower the rate moving forward down to 6.8% was that they had such great investment returns last year, and so that triggered an automatic rate change for them. And so, but what it does when the discount rate does move down, again as voted on by CalPERS, it will make the city's contributions essentially more expensive.
Okay.
But it's not necessarily tied to what the
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So the city does not have fiduciary net position or assets in their Opeb plan, and so because of that, rather than report a net Opeb liability, they report a total Opeb liability, and that under GASB rules means that the city is required to use a very low discount rate to calculate their liability. That's why so far it changes every year based on a 20-year municipal bond. So this one does change with market rates. Now, if the city were to actually have plan assets and put assets into the plan, then they would be able to use a different discount rate that would be more along the lines of what's used for CalPERS, and the liability would come down. So again, 0% funded as of June 30, 2021. As far as audit results, though, so for our opinions, we did issue unmodified opinions to all opinion units. And what that means is that the financial statements are fairly presented in all material respects, that the accounting policies have been consistently applied, and any estimates used are reasonable, and the disclosures are properly reflected in the financial statements. As well, we also had no disagreements with management, and there were no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies in internal control over financial reporting or compliance noted. No accounting issues where there was no guidance or where we had disagreements, and no inappropriate activities were noted. So with that, I'll open it to any questions if you have any.
Quite interesting.
We love audits.
You know, may I?
Yeah, go ahead.
I do want to thank you for this report. I think it's, you know, it's always a learning experience, and not so much on the process, but where we stand financially in our liabilities and responsibilities. But I mean, it's not to you, but later on, Chief or Interim City Manager, I would like to schedule a meeting to go more into detail into these things, especially if you can just go back onto the general fund, borrowing, all of that. If you can just touch on that as to how that happens. Is it a common practice? Is it just a uniqueness of our situation here? And just so we understand, or I understand, that process to either balance, to either just make sure that we are in compliance with the financing reporting, with our finances here. So I just want to make sure that I understand what you meant, and our, citizens and even our, staff understands, because I think we're all, and I'm not speaking on behalf of all of you, but I think I'm kind of like scratching my head, and that has been my asking most of the time. So if we can just, you can go over that, please.
Yeah.
Again.
So I mentioned, if you were to look at essentially the balance sheet for the general fund in this financial statement, you will see cash at zero, and a liability called due to other funds of, I believe it was $1.2 million. And so on the financial statement, a due to another fund or a due from another fund is typically what we call like a one-day entry.
Okay.
So it's basically for financial reporting purposes. If a fund had had overspent their cash position, and that happens a lot of times due to reimbursement requests to granting agencies and timing of receipts and things like that. But what is unique to the city of Calexico is typically the general fund would have a due from other funds as of June 30, because other special revenue funds, grant funds, et cetera, would be the ones that would potentially have a negative cash position. Instead of this way, it's vice versa. So the general fund is actually, borrowing is the one that had negative cash as of June 30. Now, again, there was $3.4 million of receivables in the general fund, so it really is kind of a timing issue. But the way that happens, the general fund does not have its own separate checking account. The city has pooled cash, right? And so as long as the city overall doesn't have negative cash, then these things will happen from time to time. They're typically timing issues. But again, like I said, it is unique. We don't see it a lot where the general fund has a liability that's due to other funds. Usually it's due from other funds to cover essentially the one-day cash, negative cash.
Yes, and I didn't want to misspeak or pretend that I knew as to what that was happening, but I think it is important that we know and that we understand, as to how these things happen, and maybe how can implement, whether, like you said, whether it's the timing of, our accounting receivables and all of that, and collections that we have to do for programs and other things. But I think, the other point that I just wanted to make sure is that if that's unique to our city, or if it is just a common practice or process, and to me, I think there is an opportunity for us to really work on that and make sure that we do due diligence in making sure that we are on time, that whether we need to collect or we need to make sure that we have that money available rather than borrowing and later on putting it back. But I don't think it's a good practice, but that's on us. I mean, that's what you're doing. That's your job of finding, those processes where we have to improve. And that's the other part that I want to ask. Maybe best practices, maybe some suggestions from your point of view that you're not offering any maybe advice or maybe strategies where we can put those processes in place and make sure that we don't find ourselves borrowing until we get paid or until we get those funds.
Yeah, and I think typically if it was a non-general fund, so one of the special revenue funds, we would say make sure that you're on top of your reimbursement process related to your grants, right? Don't let those file your if you have to submit a reimbursement request within 1 month, after the end of each quarter, make sure that make sure you get on those. But in this case, I think it's probably a budget monitoring. Again, the general fund does have would have funding coming in shortly after June 30 that would cover this. And in this case, I do believe it was tax revenues. So those come when the state sends them. Sometimes it's earlier, sometimes it's a little late. Sometimes it's a little later. But in this case, yeah, I would say keeping a closer eye on the available funds in the budget and monitoring the general fund's cash position. I will say that I know over the last few years that the general fund used to have a negative fund balance, unassigned fund balance position, which caused us to have to put a going concern paragraph into our auditor's report, which basically says that we're not sure if the city has enough funds to continue for the next reporting period. But that position has come up a bunch, and I know that the city is it's not reflected in these financial statements, but it was disclosed as a subsequent event and it's already been received by the city, which is a lot of the American Rescue Plan Act funding, and so that obviously will help out the position as well.
But that's just a temporary solution, at least for now, because those are one-time money.
Well,
and for the next 2 or 3 years.
Again,
but
for the negative cash position at June 30, that's basically as of the one day. It could have been positive the day before, and it could be positive the day after. But so it's just as of June 30th, it was negative. And again, so that would be just kind of monitoring the general fund's cash position as well as the revenue, the expenditure budget line items that individual directors and stuff are responsible for.
one last question. As far as compliance perspective goes, this practice, would that be a concern or finding, from, say the state or because you're doing this audit for us as an internal audit, but then later on when we get other audits from the state or other sources, would the practice that you see with this borrowing, would that be a concern based on your experience or maybe a finding, maybe a reason for it?
I would say not necessarily. One thing that we do, we differentiate between, there's two sorts of interfund liabilities and assets that are created. One is due to other funds or due from other funds, and that is essentially okay. This fund was in that's what the situation is for the city here. That means that this fund had negative cash as of June 30th, and so we're just filling in that gap to zero, and essentially that liability goes away July 1st, and you're back. There's another set, which is I would would say potentially, would be potentially worse would be if the general fund was using advances from other funds, which basically are interfund loans that have to have a formal schedule formal payback schedule and things like that. That would be a bigger issue, I think, than just the one-day sort of accounting treatment for the negative cash.
Thank you, appreciate your answers.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you very much for your report. Appreciate it.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Motion to approve?
Motion for approve? Second that?
Second.
Second by Romo. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No one opposed. Motion carried. Next item, we're skipping 8. We're going to table that. Item 9, authorize interim city manager to sign a contract amendment number 6 with 10 Over Studio to provide additional project inspection services, project management services, and construction administration services for the new fire station headquarters.
We have Mrs. Candace Wong, the architect and actually our project manager for the fire station for 10 Over Studios. If you had any questions for her, she's here to answer those if you need those.
Okay, thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
Welcome.
So if you have any questions for her, she can,
Yeah, I don't have anything. Does anybody?
My question is, where do we stand and when is the completion date for that, station?
That is a very excellent question. It is
I want to know
why-
too.
It is why we are here this week. So Carl and Dean and I are here from 10 Over Studio this evening, and we've been here a few days this week. And, the project is very close to completion. There have been delays with materials, as we all know, with supply chain issues. We are keeping close track of those. The latest schedule has the project completing at the end of May. However, with the items that we have been tracking, the commitment is, we'll see it come in 2 weeks. And then that 2 weeks comes by and those items slip again. And so we're waiting for these items to come in. As you can see, the apparatus bay doors are on now. We had to wait a very long time for those all the parts to come together for those to be installed. We actually had the doors in storage for a while, but the other parts and pieces were not available. And so it is very frustrating, but it's also very uplifting because we're so close to the end. And so by our estimation, the schedule says May, we've given it to the end of June. And we think that is realistic. And that is what our amendment for project management and project inspections and our construction administration services are tied to, is a June 30th completion. So we had a job site meeting today with the contractor, walked the job with them as well, looked at what we call a punch list. So we've started doing a punch list, and what that means is the architectural and engineering team are coming in to look at the project as a final complete project. And so we make a list of things that are still outstanding or things that we see that are potentially missing. And that is the list that the contractor will use to complete the project. And so once that list is complete and they've done the work, then we get a certificate of occupancy, which I hope will be June 30th on the nose, and that means the fire department can occupy.
Well, thank you. I know when I came into this council, I remember that project was called, I think it was called a 365-day project. I think it has been a 2-year project and counting almost. But one thing that I was sharing with interim city manager earlier, and this is I want to put this on record and as a request, and I think this is my second time that I will ask. If we can just look into, maybe Carlos, we can look into our contracts, the way that they're structured, because all these extensions, of projects, and it seems that every time there's an extension, the ones that end up paying is us, right? So why is it that it's only us? I mean, I would like to see if there is some sort of clause, if there is some sort of fine print, for a lack of a better word, that says if there is a cost overrun, the city is going to be the one paying for it. Because I think it's a disservice not just to the city but the citizens that we keep on paying all these cost overruns or these change orders. And I understand we went through the pandemic and we went through supply chain issues, but we were not at fault. So, but why should we pay the entire amount for that extension of the project? So if we can look into that, not just for this project, but moving forward, and this is specifically also because I think it's really unfair that we keep on, paying and paying. And I know we have a reserve. I mean, not a reserve, but contingencies. Thank you. Built into this project, but not because we have that, we're gonna just keep on doing these change orders or this being billed all this cost when we can probably put it towards buying some equipment for the station, buying some furniture, or doing something else. So if we can look into that, and if we can get a report or at least some sort of legal answer also. And if there's a
We're
way that
talking
we can
about
look
just contracts in general, right? All of our contracts?
Yes, and this is specific also.
Of course.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for your update. Appreciate it.
Just to piggyback on, all contracts have that in place, so
Right.
no brainer. Somebody has to pay for the difference if they don't come to schedule and all, so that's part of the, sure they'll address it, but
Yeah.
thank you, Brian.
Yeah, just really quick. Yeah, generally change orders will depend whether or not something that was unforeseen, something we're asking for. So it's generally where that's coming from and who would be responsible for that.
Right.
And obviously, there's construction deadlines, liquidated damage in the standard contracts. That
And that's
generally.
why they bond
So
it.
for change orders, a lot of times it's something that just came up that was unforeseen when the project was bid, that nobody anticipated at that point. That would be responsibility of the city. At the same time, too, sometimes the city themselves request additional work, and that may happen. But if it's the other way around, then we could look and see whether or not the actual change orders themselves are warranted, and who would be responsible for that.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
So I moved then to approve the change order.
So, motion to approve by Mr. Garcia, anybody second it?
Second.
Second by Farila Fernandez, all in favor? Aye. Motion carried, thank you.
And I just want to make a quick note. It's not a changeover, it's an amendment.
Oh, yeah.
An amendment, okay.
Thanks.
Item number 10, authorize interim city manager to sign amendment number 1 to the agreement of professional services with West and Associates Engineering Incorporated for engineering services to review the plans and specifications for New River Improvement Project, Calexico Reach.
Yeah, thank you. And we have our our Public Works Director is going to highlight this item.
Back in January, the city council authorized the city manager back then to sign an agreement with Weston Associates to assist us in reviewing the plans for the New River Improvement Project, Calexico Reach. The Calexico Reach has 3 major components. One is the trash screen, the second one is the bypass encasement, and the third is the pump back system. The plans were prepared by Michael Baker International, and they were done by the supervision of the state. Now we have the plans, and Weston Associates originally contract was $38,000 to review it, but they have had to review it on various occasions and assist us with the cost engineer. So therefore, we come before you to amend their agreement for $4,950. This money is this money does not affect the general fund. It is coming out of the $28 million grant that we have with the state.
So I'll move for approval.
Second?
Okay, second by, motion by Mr. Garcia to approve, second by Mr. Ureña. I know Ms. Romo stepped up for a minute, but we're going to head and vote. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay, motion carried for all. Thank you. Number 11, ratify letter to the Governor Gavin Newsom in support of San Diego State University's expansion plan for innovation district and STEM programs on the Brawley campus.
Motion to approve this item?
Okay.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Garcia. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you. Item number 12, introduction and first reading by title only of an ordinance amending Calexico Municipal Code chapters 2.19, 2.20, 2.23, 2.26, 2.27, 2.28, 2.232, and 2.56 regarding General Commission procedures, Personal Commission, 2010 General Tax Citizens Oversight Advisory Committee, Library Board of Trustees, Arts and Historical Commission, Planning Commission, Parks Recreation, Beautification and Senior Services Commission, and Community Police Advisory Commission.
Motion to approve?
Motion by Mr. Ureña, second.
Second.
By Mr. Garcia, all those in favor? Aye.
Excuse me, we do, I know Ms. City Clerk does have some comments from Councilmember Romo.
Yes, Councilmember Romo had submitted the following request to be, certain amendments to be made
To an amendment to this,
to this.
Okay.
And she had requested for the quarterly meetings that were in January to be moved to February, and for the October quarterly meeting to be moved to November. She also requested future agenda items at the discretion of the director that would be part of the ordinance. Also to allow, she wants to allow for a stipend for all commissioners. She is requesting a $50 stipend per meeting, and we've calculated more or less approximately $9,400 annually is what it would cost to fund that. And she's requesting the Economic Development Commission only meet twice a year due to revenue and what they discuss. And so she would like them to meet only twice per year rather than the quarterly. And of course, she wanted to make sure that the location for all commission meetings would always be at City Hall.
Okay, Mrs. Romo?
I'll retract my motion.
Yeah, well, let's talk about it, right?
Yeah.
Mrs. Romo?
Acaban
Estamos
de-
hablando de su amendment, que, por favor, para que nos diga. Okay, so do you withdraw your motion?
I'll withdraw my motion. I can make a brief comment.
Okay.
I agree with most of those. The only one that I don't agree with is changing the economic development to biannual or 2 times a year. I think that one should stay quarterly. They should continue to meet.
Okay.
But I'm okay with all the other ones. That's fine.
You want to wait till she talks about it more? Or
Yeah, I
Ms. Romo, go ahead.
¿Tus enmiendas?
Yes, ¿las tienes tú, Gaby? ¿Vas?
Ya la leí.
Ajá.
Ok. Yeah. Sí, ya.
Sí. Dígame en español, no, dígame.
Ok.
Sí, porque son muchas cosas, pues, y o sea, lo íbamos a votar, pero el señor Ureña quitó una cosa que no está de acuerdo.
Yo dije que estoy de acuerdo con todos, con la excepción de Economic Commissions. Esa debería continuar de reunirse 4 veces al año. Está bien.
Okay.
Pero las demás están
Ok.
bien.
Y se me hace que aquí el señor Arreola tiene algo y el señor García también tiene algo que decir.
Preguntas.
Ok.
Yo no tengo nada que opinar, yo estoy bien.
Bueno, pues ya las escucharon. ¿Cuál es
Sí,
la
pero
pregunta?
ellos no
No,
tienen
pues
algo.
tienen preguntas.
So I want to make sure that those are put because we're talking about different commissions and what will be applicable to which commission, right? Because they have different needs, they have different schedules. And I think for us to set, yes, that's what we do, but I think also we need to give them the flexibility also for them to set their meeting schedule, right? Because yes, they're volunteers, and hence that word, volunteers. On the stipend, yes, I would like to provide the stipend, but at this point, I don't think, and I know it's under $10,000, but I don't think the stipend should be there. I think people, for the most part, they understand that that's on a volunteer basis. So, again, it doesn't break the bank, but also our bank, we just hurt, where we find ourselves right now. So I think if we're asking our citizens to volunteer, that's the meaning of the word volunteer, and we appreciate that. But yeah, so I would like to see more commission by commission, the needs, and I know as we stand right now, they haven't met. None of the commissions have met. But if we set a schedule right now, and because we're even going to the point where we are putting policies, even for this council to cancel a meeting, right? So I think we need to also give them we always say that we want to give them a chance for them to have a say on things. So I think I want to leave them up to them also, and on need, whether it's quarterly, whether it's monthly, as long as there is a need for them, they should meet. As long as we need for them to provide, feedback to us, they should meet. But I just think establishing a schedule and that it's going to be rigid, it just doesn't work. But that's just my
Okay, Mr.
feedback.
Garcia.
I think, they should know how their schedules should be. They should work, how could I say?
Can you speak to the
same
mic,
thing that
Mike?
Emilio said. I'm sorry.
Speak to the mic, yeah. Thank you.
Yes, I think they should meet as needed, and of course, on a regular basis, in order for them to be able to be productive. So that's my giving. If they haven't met, and I think they need to start meeting again as soon as we get them going.
Okay. I don't have any reservations. I believe it's a good proposal.
Yeah,
But let me finish.
Okay.
I am going to agree. I'm in agreement with everything. Especially I'm in agreement with the stipend because it's really hard to get anybody to volunteer. $50 is nothing. It's an incentive to get them to get to the meetings. That's all I have to say.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think it's an investment in
Con
our
exception
citizens.
with, economic development, ¿no?
Si tú quieres hacer una
So
moción.
Okay, so since it's a lot to digest, how are we going to break this?
$50 a
How
meeting?
are we gonna-
Is that what you're saying?
I'll make the motion.
Okay.
I'll move to approve the item as is, with the proposed amendments with the exception of number 4, which is the economic development. Economic development should continue to meet quarterly.
Yeah, I mean, it's feasible.
I mean,
terms
don't
of-
we need to find out if finance, shouldn't we check with finance first before we
See,
decide?
They came up with a projection of $9,400. I mean, there's 9,000 is a drop in the bucket in a lot of.
Yes, so they were asked on this, and that was the amount that was provided to our city clerk that provided it to us.
Yeah.
That's the way it was calculated, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. So I think we'll
How
be,
much does the planning get?
$100,000.
They get like
Planning
100
commissioners
or
receive
150, I
$100
think.
They
per
get
meeting.
$100 every meeting, and how often are they meeting? Like every 2 weeks, a month,
Twice a month?
twice a month? I mean, if they're getting something, then, well, hey, something to anybody else?
Okay, so the question is, it's already been to the finance, we can afford that? That's the
if we,
question.
let me have our interim finance director come up and answer
Okay,
that appropriately.
we'll wait. We go take a recess?
No,
No,
she's
okay.
right here in the audience.
Thank you, Sandy. We don't put you on the spot, but.
Yeah, because I want to make sure that we're aware that this was a kind of, I don't want to say a last minute item.
Sure.
Or request, so we're kind of acting on the spot right here. It's appropriate to allow us time to have the conversations, to look into, do the research, because when these last minute things pop up, we're up here and we're trying to give you answers based on our best, I guess at this point, right?
Of
So,
course, of course.
is that fair to say that we'd probably need more time, or the numbers that we provided to them, is that appropriate to pass? Is something that we can do?
The numbers that were provided were estimated by Gabby. But it's not something that more or less the finance, it's more the departments that are gonna be affected. Like have you heard, managers have said that their budget's already pretty low. It's them, if they can afford, we need to search for that, and I do request giving me the time to talk to the managers, to
Right.
the department.
So you
heads
need
to
more
see-
time?
Yes.
Yes,
Mr.
for,
Romero,
for us to act
We
on,
can give
Okay,
the,
so
Okay.
no,
excuse me, give the benefit
I-
to the managers to make that decision
I-
on their own commissioners as well.
I understand the request for more
Excuse
time. Oh, I'm sorry.
Hold on,
Go,
who's
go,
talking
go.
here?
So-
I got two people
I'm sorry,
talking.
I didn't see your microphone.
Surene,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Where you say, Mr. Rene?
No, estabas, oh.
No, because my question is this, so, in other words, for the police commissioners, it's gonna come out of
The police
the
department.
police department
Yes.
budget.
Right.
For the library, it's gonna come out of the library's budget. So recreation's gonna, so, okay.
Yes.
Well, I think we need to explore that a little bit
Yeah, and
more.
that's what we're recommending, so I think the
I-
motion was that she's okay with it, so we'll let it table it for, do more diligence, present it better with the numbers, talk to the department
fine.
heads, right?
yeah,
Yes,
just,
yeah.
just,
Seven.
because the way this was presented tonight, that was not a portion of it.
Sure.
And this is a last minute introduction, which didn't allow us to do our due diligence and looking into all of this. Because we were ready to pass or present this introduction for the first reading based on what you have here in your
Right.
staff report. So now we're gonna add a change to it. I think it would be appropriate to allow us to go back, research it, give you true numbers, and obviously reach out to our departments that are affected, because like our finance director said, this is gonna be coming out of their budget. And we got to make sure that we plan for that.
Okay, so if I may, if we can just pull this item for more information to be done on this. And yes, I could support the stipend as long as it doesn't come out of the department's budget, because, hearing them that they're having a hard time buying a box of crayons or pens, I mean, and yet, we're taking, $250, a month. For them, it's things that they won't be able to buy. But if we can look at, Sandy, if you can look at the different options, and maybe creating a line item on our next budget, right? And this will be effective on our next fiscal year. So look for those options. At least that's what I will recommend on that. And for them to come back with a little more clarity with that included in the reading of this item.
Okay, any more discussion? Yes?
I'll push back just a little bit, because I think that's, a level of precision and work that is just excessive for $10,000. We have about 10
Right.
departments. 10,000 divided by 10 is about $1,000 per department. I don't think anybody's going to be crying over that.
Right.
I think we don't need it. We don't need it for the next fiscal year. We do need it right now. But if Sandy does want 2 more weeks to put that into an Excel spreadsheet, that's fine. But it should be done by the next meeting for this year and not for next fiscal year.
So.
We'll do the research, we'll do the work, and we'll present it to you guys, and then you guys can make that
I'll make
decision.
a motion to table for the next meeting specifically.
Okay.
With.
We want to add the new
For
stuff.
them to come back to with information and.
No, to table for the next meeting with the
Okay,
information.
all right.
But
Okay.
specifically
Okay?
for the next one.
Yeah, we'll table them so they
Somebody's
can do more.
gonna second it,
diligence.
he's made a motion. Who's gonna second it? You wanna second it?
Lo quieres ahorita. Bueno, pues hago la yo también digo lo mismo, o sea, son $10,000. I'll make a motion to approve with the amendments, and I'll withdraw my motion, make a motion to approve with the amendments, with the exception of number 4, my original motion.
And of course, you second it. Okay, so we'll take a roll call. Clerk? Take a roll call, please.
Mayor Moreno,
Yes.
Councilmember Garcia,
No.
Councilmember Hernandez, yes. Councilmember Ureña,
Yes.
Councilmember Roma,
Yes.
Thank you for 4-1. Okay, we have item number 13, one appointment by City Council to the Parks, Recreation, Beautification, and Senior Services Commission. And do we have, we're still waiting, no, we don't have anybody, right? Oh, we do?
We have one application, and I'm going to say,
Oh.
that
okay.
says Antonio Garcia,
Yeah, I'm familiar with them.
and he was for the
Good.
the Parks and Recreation.
Okay. Yeah, so, motion, I'll make a motion to approve Mr. Tony Garcia to the Parks, Recreation, Beautification, and Senior Services Commission. Anybody second that? Second by Romo. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye, motion carried, 5-0. Thank you.
Mr. Garcia.
Future item, agenda item. We'll start here on my left. Mr. Orena?
Oh, I stated mine in the council comments, so I won't repeat them. I'm good. Todo bien.
What's that?
Mr. Romo?
Yeah. Number one, Mr. Favila, please formally invite the Director of Carefront and Memorial Healthcare District to our next regular meeting or in June for...
Yeah, he's on the schedule for our next meeting already,
Okay,
yeah.
perfect, thank you. And Mr. Carlos Campos, please, could you prepare an item on the pending transfer with the housing? You remember? Pending.
Correct, yes, and the only stipulation is we still need some information from the Housing Authority. To the extent we can get that within the next couple of days, that item would be ready. But it,
Perfect.
and we just followed up with their attorney today as well.
All right, thank you, Mr. Campos. Mr. Favila, will present a report on the possible places where the electric stations for the cars will be installed in Calexico, maybe 6 or 7, you remember, Mr. Moreno?
Yes.
The Mayor Mazda coordinator with the Comité Cívico del Valle, please.
Okay.
You want me to say something on that?
Yeah.
Now, or you want me to wait till? Okay, on that, you know,
Yes.
Mr. Luis Almeida was the CEO for the Comité Cívico del Valle. He wanted to reach out to the city of Calexico to make it all letter of intent to put those electric stations. Now, my understanding was that he was supposed to submit a proposal, a program, or come and talk to us and see what his proposal is. So I
Okay,
think that's what you're alluding
maybe
to,
we
right?
can, if you think that's okay, maybe we should have that first.
Right.
Have the presentation,
Uh-huh.
we take it back, and then we'll make action.
Is that what you want? Right.
Wait,
Okay.
We need the
this
presentation
is
first.
about the placement, right?
Yes, this is the locations. What we can do is,
6 or 7.
during the week, I can tell him, hey, these are the spots that we think we can put them at.
Oh,
And at the same time, give information to the city council and the community on what this actually entails.
That makes sense, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, his intention is to do it through Imperial County, but he chose Calexico first.
I love it.
So that's
Yes.
the,
Yeah,
So who's funding this?
Comité Cívico.
Comité Cívico del Valle.
Comité
Cívico del Valle, it's a grant they got through the.
And they're
Department
not, they chose Calexico
First,
versus?
they're gonna go through all the cities.
The goal is to get the whole Imperial County,
Right.
It's for
but their
all
starting
county,
point is here in
But the
Calexico.
Calexico is first,
Yes.
thank you.
That
That's
sounds
it?
good.
Okay.
Calexico first.
Mr. Garcia?
No, I already
Okay.
gave my
Okay.
direction.
Mr. Arela Fernandez, anything?
No.
And I don't have anything. I motion to adjourn at 8:45.
Second.
Second.
Thank you.